My name is Wiebke Rabe. I'm a postdoctoral researcher and I work at the Institute for Chinese Studies at Freie Universität in Berlin. The key challenges in the current relations between China and the EU is really what is the direction into which the relations are heading in the near future. So at the current stage, the relations between China and the EU, they are in a transition phase. And I would say they are even at a crossroads. So we have had a trend towards increasing economic integration in the past in terms of trade relations and foreign investment. But since the past couple of years, tensions have increased, and more so also in the last recent months. So in this year, 2020, China and the EU had planned to finalize a comprehensive agreement on investment. For the EU, the investment agreement is very important for further cooperation with China, also with regards to discussing the EU-China 2025 strategic agenda for cooperation, which would detail projects in the area of economic security and politics. So this means finalizing the investment agreement is a very important stepping stone. But after more than 30 rounds of negotiations, the EU is very frustrated. It sees the process as too slow. And German Chancellor Merkel, she said in the beginning of October, if China doesn't meet the precondition for the agreement, that is granting European companies market access for certain areas, then also access to the European market will be narrower for Chinese investors. And this is a very clear sign of a much harsher tone from the European side. And also since especially Chancellor Merkel used to be more reluctant in openly expressing criticism towards China than other governments of EU member states. So there is a change in the rhetoric, and the change in rhetoric can also be clearly seen with the EU calling China not only a partner, but also an economic competitor and a systemic rival who promotes alternative modes of governance. And all this is taking place in a stormy international environment, especially against the background of the conflict between China and the United States, a so-called trend of decoupling, the fundamental disagreement between China and Western countries over the developments in Hong Kong, and a rhetoric also by the Chinese government, which has become much more sharp and outspoken. And for connectivity, when we define connectivity as the sum of all interactions between China and the EU, it inherits certain risks because connectivity shows us the dependencies, for example, in terms of access to certain goods and markets. But I think connectivity also offers opportunities. The relationship between China and the EU has developed into a very institutionalized one, with regular dialogues taking place, as well as partnerships, platforms, and forums. And at times when relations are cooling down, it is surely beneficial to already have an institutional framework in place. This allows for ongoing mutual exchange. Going forward, there are actually three major things I would like to see happen. So the first one relates, of course, to the investment agreement. I would really like to see this investment agreement to be finalized because it is very important for the bilateral relationship. The second one is avoiding an overloaded China threat rhetoric. This is something that we currently see, especially coming from the government of the United States, and what is being reflected back in the tone used by the Chinese government. So an overloaded rhetoric from both sides is not very helpful. And what I would definitely like to see happen as well is a focus on continued cooperation on most pressing global challenges, which is environmental protection, increasing global need for natural resources, biodiversity, and climate change. And these are areas in which both China and the EU have shared interest and also expertise, and where I would like to see cooperation to move forward in the future. Yes, there is no single actor to solve the current tensions or move forward the relations between China and the EU. Of course, the investment agreement, this is something that needs to be hammered out at the top level. But besides, it's a range of actors on the level of the EU, national governments, subnational governments, city partnerships between European countries and European cities and Chinese cities. It goes down to research institutions, organizations, also scientists. So to move forward, the relations between China and the EU, to move them forward is really a multi-level endeavor. And on the level of the EU, we have several cooperation mechanisms, such as the Energy Dialogue, the Partnership for Urbanization. I would like these forums we have and platforms we have continue to be used to tackle those global problems. And under current times, it is very important to keep those cooperations we have moving forward, keep those channels which work well open, and also, of course, improve those that in the past have not offered very good outcomes, so that we can make the utmost use of them.